Hey, welcome back everyone. So in this one, I'm going to try to draw Mystique, and it'll just be a headshot. I'm going to probably warm up on a lot of these headshots, get used to this process, these make it a bit easier. And so I'm just going to rough out the head shape. So with the female heads, I usually go wider. I mean, all heads get wider at the top, but more noticeably, like if it's a real tough guy kind of pose, I usually widen out the jaw quite a bit, right? Well, with the females, you can really narrow. You'll see some people take this pretty extreme, almost to like a V, especially for a real stylized kind of, an anime look or whatever. So you can really play around with that. But I just make it a little bit wider at the top, more spherical up here, and then more narrow as we get down to the chin. Find a center line, like that. I draw this line, and I'm going to rotate it down a little bit. This is really about where the brow line is. You could say the eye line. The eyes are halfway down from the top to the bottom, right? Well, if you want that tilt down of the head, you kind of have to overcompensate for that. So, you can lower the eyes pretty far below that halfway point. And, you just got to perceive that you're going to see more of the top of the head. So something like that. And position the neck. I'm going to do a real skinny neck that's kind of that overly stylized kind of thing. And remember too that it's not just how far it connects under the jaw like this. I got it way far back right here. So it's pretty skinny, but then also if you add more height there, it's going to feel skinnier by proportion as well. So that's something else to kind of play around with. The scale, where it meets the jawline, under the jawline, and then the proportion. The height distribution of that neck. Something like that maybe, and all this is rough. Like anything else, I start very rough just to kind of get some ideas in. Her hair generally covers her ears, right? So I'm going to block that in pretty quick. At least just a reference point. So I think her hair comes up and over based on the drawings that I've looked at. Really don't think I've ever drawn her, which is so messed up. She's such a great character. And hopefully that's what these videos will allow me to do. Start experimenting with all these characters that I should have been drawing a long time ago. Yeah, because Mystique is like definitely, she's probably, I don't know, top 5, top 3 even of my favorite characters on the X-Men movies. Especially the first couple. Like, she was probably my fave. I'm not gonna say why. She just was fun to pay attention to. That's all I'm gonna say. She's a freaking awesome character. But at any rate, probably oversharing there, right? You guys are here for drawings, not for my own personal taste. Lasagna is my favorite food, in case you're wondering. Okay, so just like that, and then the eyes, we can say, we could drop them lower. I don't want to go too low. And so the difference here as well, she's got that cool skull right there in the comic version. I don't think she was sporting that in the movies, right? But we can play around with that. I like to drop in circles for the eyes. Also, as you'll probably notice, a lot of times I will get in there and add some reference lines sooner rather than later. Use my handy dandy Weems and Plath roller ruler. If you guys want links to any of the art supplies, I'll make sure they're in the description box below. But yeah, these rulers are awesome. And what I'll do here usually, if I can, is I'll try to get this straight line right on one of these lines, roundabout. See that? And then now I know I'm roughly 90 off the other lines or whatever. But I can't get my roller on there. Maybe if I do it like this. Got to get the roller on there. See, I'm trying to line this one up right on that line. And obviously the face has more perspective to it than, see, this isn't working too well. But now I got this one line. I can slide it down and then move over. I'm just, my ruler's falling off sketch pad. It's not very big. I should be using Bristol board on the flat surface, which would be even more effective. And I don't need a bunch of perfect lines. I just want some reference in there. You see, it looks pretty weird right now, right? But that's all right. We're going to adjust it. You can also throw in some quick reference to the eyebrows. Again, these aren't, like, this isn't me trying to draw the face really well. This is me dropping in placeholders to see, okay, are these things kind of in the right zone and area? Like, for instance, I like putting like a little oval for the tip of the nose. If I'm going to give her kind of a mean expression, maybe one lip, one side of the lip up, and I can do that just with a quick kind of implied version of it, right? Bring the lips a little closer together, because you got to figure, like, especially with something like this, I'm going to have to mess with that a little bit. I'm not going to draw that expression perfect the first time anyways, so I kind of drop it in loosely and then see if it all fits together. So if I start putting this all into place and her forehead feels too big, then I got to move everything, and I put all this extra time into getting it just right. So I don't want to sit down here and draw a perfect mouth when I'm still trying to move things around. Hopefully that makes sense. It's like the ears, I only needed ovals for like this kind of idea of placement. Really, they'd be a little bit higher with the down tilt head. You got to remember that when the head turns down, the ears have to go up, right? Also, this slope on this side, I could probably bring that in more. So where the face can feel more full on this side, but as we have a head that turns away, you have to change the slope on this side. It can't be symmetrical with a tilt, right? So that's kind of wrong right there. Get rid of a little bit of the construction lines and just kind of pace it out. Maybe thin up the neck a little bit more. So you see, a lot of times when I'm erasing, I'm not just erasing. It looks like I'm just erasing, but there's more going on. There's some trickery I'm doing here. And what I'm doing is I'm actually sculpting the lines. So if I erase on this side of the line versus this side, that's a small impact, right? And so a lot of times when you're doing that, you're not just erasing, you're sculpting. And I think it's good to think of it that way so that you can get the right shapes you're looking for. Hopefully a little bit quicker, but also just those little details matter, It's like that old saying, the devil's in the details, right? Okay, so again, just playing around with the shape of the neck. She's got that collar piece. We can get some more implied depth with that rather quickly. Kind of rotate it for you. It feels a bit crooked. Okay, so what next? So, there's lots of things we can do. We get the little, it's like a little triangle right there, but you just draw the sides of it, or I do anyways. And for the nose, where's my kneaded eraser? It is needed at the moment. All right, so with this, you can just say the bottom of the nose, the nostrils, right? And then the wings of the nostrils. And so you can kind of start with that right there if you want. I mean, it's up to you. You can do whatever you want. But I like doing that. And then I can go into it in more detail. But a lot of times you'll see that you really don't need that much. I mean, some people don't even do that for a nose. They just do a little circle and two nostrils, especially the smaller the artwork gets. And this is actually pretty small, really. But I don't know, maybe not for most comic artists, because if you're doing page work, this actually would be almost big at that point. Blows my mind how people get those tight details in their page work. I like to draw bigger personally, but it is faster to draw smaller if you can manage it. Okay, so something like this. The eyes I usually have to draw a couple times unless I'm warmed up, and I didn't warm up today, which was kind of silly. Like, I just jumped on in and started drawing. No warm-ups today, folks. You're getting the unwarmed up version of Rob Marzullo. You're welcome. Yeah, and it feels kind of strange that you would even need to warm up at all for drawing. It's not like it's some athletic sport, you know, it's not like you're gonna pull a hamstring or something, but yeah, I feel like it's a real deal. Like there's a noticeable difference after you warm up with a few even like basic scribbles or something about getting a few of the ugly designs out of the way, basically. So here, just slowly trying to find the direction of the hair. Let's keep sculpting out the face. But okay, let's see. So, and also with the hair, I could fix, like if I feel like the hairline's too far up, I could fix that pretty easy with a hairstyle like this, because I just bring that line down into here. I might even want some of this volume on the underside of the hair to show. You know what I mean? So there's certain things you can move around that don't hurt, that might help anyways. Like it doesn't hurt to nudge some of this stuff around. Let's see, I feel like she's kind of grimacing. She's kind of a mean lady. All right, and then we could obviously get more body into the hair. I've got it kind of, too solid of a shape. So I usually start there, but then I'll try to throw a couple little wisps around, maybe one through the face or whatever. Just soften it up a bit with the additional little strands. Great for incorporating a sense of movement into the character as well. Okay, so now I'm going to bring these collarbones up. I feel like they're just a bit too low. And she doesn't have pupils, does she? I can't talk today, folks. Sorry. Hey, you're the one that wanted... You asked for real time, so you're going to get all my little speech impediments. And there are plenty of them. I kind of have a lisp. I'm not even joking. I've always had a lisp. I'm sure if you've followed the channel, you've witnessed said lisp. Probably even made fun of me at times. Shame on you. Shame on you. Don't worry, make fun of me too. It's okay. All right, so there we go. That's enough of the rough sketch to kind of feel it out. I'm still nudging things around. Like I feel like this bottom lip needs more volume, but it's still rough. But I like to just draw through the roughness. See what I get. Oh, that little skull. I'm gonna need more detail in there. I can't draw skulls that well without roughing it in. It's a nice little headpiece. I might have to go get me one of them bad boys. They make these for dudes, little headpiece skulls. Kind of cover up that part where my hair doesn't comb right. Alright, so yeah, so something like that. Alright, so now the soft erase. Which, to tell you the truth, I kind of like it just like that. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I don't mind it. It's a rough. It's like when you're going to do a painting, you got to block something in, so you got to deal with the ugly part of the painting. This is the ugly part of the drawing. So, so let me soft erase this now and clean it up. Okay, so I got my Prismacolor kneaded eraser. These things are like magical. Just push that information back. I'm back to working with dark lead, HB lead. I shouldn't. I know I shouldn't. But I just like it. I like the intensity of it. But usually what I try to do here is a couple things. Oh, I'm running out of lead. Come on. Is there more in there? Are we going to get lucky? Yes. 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 All right. Anyways, I like to do a couple extra clicks of yeses. Kind of gets me pumped up. But so what I like to do here is just... try to grab some shadows, right? So hopefully my hand's not in the way here. Here I use this like WV kind of thing. It's easy to remember and it works. Not always, but most of the time. And then I'll loop over the hair like this. And then obviously hair, there's just all sorts of cool bends you can try to get. You want to feel organic, but then I don't know. You for style, man, am I losing another piece? I must have bent this sucker. Yeah, see, there's a bend. There's a bend on it. You know what it does? It breaks the lead. You gotta be careful with these. So time for another one, but it breaks the lead because you're pushing it through that bend, I imagine, and the lead is brittle. Okay, so, but with the hair, you try to make it organic, right? But you also want to mix in some angles, especially it adds a bit of style to it. And plus, I mean, some people just are really good at nailing organic lines and curves in the hair and making it appear fantabulous, and other people, myself included, not so much. Like I can do bits of it, but I do better with drop-in angles. You know, I always mention that. Like I think that angles are a way to simplify, and there's other curves that you want to kind of repeat, I guess. You know, so if you notice, I'm using S hooks, kind of, you know, S curves in there, and you can really do that over and over, but anything overly repetitive is going to rob it of an interesting look. So I think every now and then that's where you need your separation of big to little shapes. You need the ribbon-like effect to occur. Some people do that really well, where they can like take the ribbons, you know, that look of the ribbon-like effect of the hair, and they just weave it in and out of all the other forms. Yeah, so when you find somebody that does that really well, just stop, pay attention to their work, do some redraws of it, because it's neat. I really like it too, where they take the shapes off to the side and they all kind of blend together in one big silhouette. That's another neat thing to pay attention to. So I'll have to stop what I'm doing and do some studies like that. So some highs and lows, some big shapes and little shapes. Also, generally want to kind of rotate it around like this, so it doesn't. You don't want that kind of split. It just looks like it goes this way, and that's it. It kills the roundedness of the top of the head. And you could probably just start light with the directional lines like this first. I mean, then so you can kind of just peruse through these shapes and pick and pull some different areas. And then what I like to do is it goes back towards the neck. I usually darken that or bring them tighter in succession so that it gives the feeling that it's wrapping around and going behind the neck. So that's another thing. It's just that contrast, basically. So you have these tighter shadows, these tighter lines in succession, and then you widen them out at points, and that gives you this illusion that it's kind of, going forward and back along the page or whatever. Bring some in front of her body a little bit so it's not too awfully boring. Could probably bring this one closer to the eye right there. I don't think her hair is too awfully long, right? Based on the ones I'm looking at, it seems like she's got a shorter hairstyle just above the shoulders, just at about the shoulders. And then I really want to make sure to get the shape of the face right. So for the chin, I just have to make sure that kind of hitting that center line relatively, can't be too far from there to look funny. You don't want it to look like her chin's jetted out. Or maybe you do. I don't know what you're into. Okay, something like that. Get those neck muscles kind of implied in there. Collarbones. Okay, so now take a break from the hair because I'm not quite feeling it. So that's another thing I do. I just bounce around. If I'm not feeling something, I'll go to something else. No sense in trying to force it. And I'll still keep sculpting the shape as well. You know, first I got this overly kind of bell-like shape, so I'm trying to break away from that. And so for the eyes, I'm just going to go around the eyes, grab like a big shadow shape for the eyelashes. So I'll just picture she put on way too much mascara. Which I don't know, is there a limit? Is there too much? Maybe there's never too much. I don't know, I quit wearing it, so I couldn't tell you. Kidding. Totally kidding. Of course I did not stop wearing it. Okay, so a couple little eyelashes broken off. Obviously, lots of different ways you could do this part, but it's super small for me at this point, so there's not a whole lot I can do in there, but I think it does look really good when with these types of characters when the eyelashes are very pronounced. Again, this kind of mad expression. I think does she have red eyebrows? If they're red, I probably wouldn't fill them in, but you can probably take that either way because they're eyebrows. So you could draw them in as shapes and fill them in, or leave them open and color them, whatever you like. There's no right and wrong in comics. No, okay, maybe there is. I don't know. Okay, more of the shape of the hair right there. Little skull. I feel like I need like a tiny little, like a magnifying glass for this part. Tiny little skull. Like, where do you even find a tiny little skull? That's creepy. Okay, so something like that. I feel like that's not very good, but it's so small I can't really see what I'm doing. I have to actually look up at the screen, and I guess that's not a bad thing. I can use the screen as my magnifying glass, because yeah, I can actually see it better now looking up. That's wild. Then there's that thing of like, oh, am I getting lost in something that doesn't matter? Probably so. Okay. So there's that. And I feel like I still want to add some more of the eyelashes. Yeah, a little bit. I'll keep picking at that. And then for the mouth, or well, I guess I should get the nose real quick. So again, keeping the nose pretty simple. Yeah, like a little shadow under the nose. Some little things like that too. Just try to grab, especially when it gets smaller like this and you feel like you're struggling to grab the details. That's when you go for the shadows, I think anyways. Because shadows are generally easier to drop in, shapes of shadows, versus squeezing a bunch of lines in because you're trying to get all those, tiny little details in place. So yeah, just drop in shapes of shadows and Simplify. Not to be confused with simplify, which means something totally different. Okay, same thing, bottom of the lip, I could probably just shadow this in. Now you guys got to tell me if, you know, this is really what you want. I know real time I ramble a lot, and I'm sorry, I don't really know what to say. There's kind of that feeling of awkward silence as I slowly render this work, and that's usually why I go to time lapse. So you guys gotta ease my mind here and say, okay, this is what we want, or not, you know, or tell me, say, you know, hey man, maybe you should try this. Like, okay, so here's an idea, and you know, it's not some great idea, it's obvious, but I could just, like, all right, where this hair is going to take a minute, would you rather I just time lapsed it? I could fake time lapse it like this. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, come out as scribbles. But yeah, should I time lapse things that are just time consuming, or is it really that important for you to see every little mark so that you can learn and grow? Because you know, that's all this is really here for. I mean, you know, a tiny bit of it is my ego. Okay, I'll be honest. I like people watching me draw. I'm kind of weird like that, but really, I want to help as many people realize that they can draw and that it's worth it to learn this stuff. It's fun, you know. It's really fun. You're making your own fun out of paper and pencil. You can't beat it. But at the same time, is it necessary to show it all in absolute real time? I know some people do better with that, but then I wonder, is it boring to wait for the end result when when it's something more repetitive? Because there's only so many times I could say, like, you know, what I'm doing here is I'm trying to pull highs and lows, and I'm trying to I use a lot of repetitive ideas like W's and V's, like I mention all the time for hair and stuff like that. It's in zigzags. They're really just little zigzags. Can't overdo that because it kills like a feeling of body. You know, you got to think body for the hair is like volume, right? It's like bigger areas of volume and then smaller little subsections. And I don't always capture that real well. It's weird. It's like sometimes I can draw hair a little bit better. Hair is its own monster. Like, I definitely warm up, draw like a couple of hairstyles, and then I start to get it. I start to get the nice little, you know, you get some underlay kind of openings of the hair. It looks a lot more realistic. But again, this is back a little ways. I probably wouldn't do that anyways, but hair to me is that complex, where, and then you got all the different hairstyles, right? So it's something you can spend days and days just trying to really hone in on, and improve your drawing of it. I mean, obviously if you're doing page work, you're drawing your character's hair over and over anyways, so sure, you're kind of warmed up to it. But yeah, it's a tricky one. And then trying to keep a light source in mind, I'm going to put a little bit of light on this side of the head. So what I can do is bring a lot of this shadowing kind of together, and then have the light kind of wrap into a couple of these volumes. Nothing too crazy, but it gives that nice little edge lighting to the hair. And then I can reinforce that by dropping the shadow off the chin over here somewhere. Should help it out. You see I put the shadow under the nose over there, so it's all relatively consistent as far as that goes. And let's see, I don't know, I guess I could add, I'll try it, I don't know if it'll work here, but so I'm kind of perceiving that this side of the hair comes up, right? This goes up, over, and down. This comes up. So you might get a little bit of highlight from that light across there, maybe. It might be a bit forced. And then on this side, I can just shadow it in more. Especially right here where her head would be blocking all this. So you could probably just fill that all in. And then as it comes around this way, I could start breaking it up just a little bit. A couple little negative lines in there. I don't know about this part. I think her collar, her suit design's all white, so I wouldn't put a lot of shadows on that. If it was a darker material, I would. But I can still add just a little bit of rendering in there. Nothing too crazy. And on the lips, I could either do like a little bit of gloss highlights, render to one side of it, something like that. I think the jaw's a bit wide over here, so I'm going to bring that in a little bit. She's making me think of somebody from, it's like, I was thinking of the Baroness from, I don't know why, G.I. Joe, but, which she doesn't look like that. But then it made me realize when you're looking at the color version, is she the same colors as like the female version of Zartan? Remember that dude? Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to like, maybe that's a character I need to draw. Some of the G.I. Joe ones. Which is, again, oddly strange that I've never drawn those because what kid didn't love G.I. Joe from our era, right? So if you were like me and you're a kid when that stuff was huge, G.I. Joe was like the thing. And, yeah. It was pretty sweet. I didn't have a lot of them because I didn't have a lot of the cool toys. I was kind of one of the little broke kids that had just a couple, and then you go over a friend's house and they'd have like all the ships and all the crazy, yeah. And I was the little envious child. One day I'll have all that stuff. And now I'm old enough and I could have it all, and I don't buy any of it. It's funny how that works out. But as a kid, that was my goal. I'm going to grow up and I'm going to get all the G.I. Joe, the whole collection. God. How many pieces would that consist of? That's just a crazy thought. But anyways, she made me think of like, with the colors and everything, Zartan, which I'm going to have to look. I'm going to be embarrassed. He's probably all different colors. But see, on the side here, also what you could think about, so I got some light hitting this side of the hair, right? And I'm just playing around with that shape as kind of like some edge lighting, right? I could bring a shadow from this fold of the hair onto the face, but I'm not going to do that. I would leave that kind of to the coloring process. But then over here, if I wanted to bring out this volume right here, I could make the argument that the light catches this side of this hair, I would think. I'm going to try it anyways. Sounds good in my head. Just start with a shape like that, maybe cut into it, see if it works. That's not the right shape, but I know it can work, or I think I know. But I feel like it would work. You wouldn't want to flatten all this out. I would think that if this light is catching right here on the side of this hair, some of that should make its way over to here. And then so what you do is you start thinking of this area right here receding back behind the head, catching more shadow, and then this area coming out, hopefully catching some light, but I'm not really getting the shape the way I want. So I don't know. If I can't get it, what's that Wally Woods one? When in doubt, black it out. So I would definitely try to get it, but if I can't, I'm just gonna let it go and fill it in. Save it for another, take up that that battle another day. So trying to get some of that highlight right there. Yeah, see, the only bad thing is what it does, it feels like there's just a break in the hair. So I'm going to fill it in. Sorry, I thought I could do it. Maybe next time, folks. And I feel like these two being right next to each other and being the same shape is a bit distracting, so I'm going to adjust that. So one rolling back like this. And one coming over this way. Let's try that. Okay, we could do like a little bit of rendering over the nose. Could add some up by the cheeks. A little snarl line. I don't want to go too far. Actually, I don't even like that. I think it's weird, like those little lines right by the nose and the mouth. You just immediately make the characters look older. It's really hard to drop in there. For me, anyways. You could also go back and erase lines that are catching the light. Maybe a little shadow off the skull. Oh, is that distracting? And I feel like I could take a little bit more off the top of the head. It feels a bit elongated there. So again, that's the other thing, is I'm just constantly sculpting, and it doesn't have to be a smooth curve either. You see a lot of styles like just cut into it here and there and break up that curve and put like a little bit of a, you know, like a bend of some kind in there, just to kind of, again, kind of push that style, I think. And I think that's about it. A little more to the eyelashes, and I think we'll call it good. Alright, so there we have it. I appreciate everybody for tuning in and watching. I know this was a long one, but I want to give you something in real time. And let me know if you want to see more like this. Be specific, what characters, what things do you want to learn. All that's good food for thought. So thanks so much for tuning in. More on the way soon. Good luck with your art, and bye for now.